and streaming. Hey. Welcome to the casual... Whoops, I totally forgot. I have to engrave the name into our... Alright, so welcome to the Casual Nerdcast. I'm your host, Justin Chu, and today joining me, Alex.
Oh!
Aimal.
Hey!
Evan.
Ah!
Interesting as usual. Alright, so basically, for the most part, we're going to be discussing Ubisoft under lots and lots of pressure. This week has just been crazy, so I think we'll start in chronological order just so that everybody can catch up with us. So during E3, there was a bit of a controversy regarding Assassin's Creed Unity. And if you guys remember, we referenced it kind of earlier, but kind of grew on later, and we figured it'd be fun to kind of attach all the Ubisoft-related problems into one podcast. So let's let's start with that then. Lack of playable female characters in recent Ubisoft games. So, Assassin's Creed Unity, someone pointed out, oh wow, I can only play as a male character in co-op. People were a bit not pleased, I guess you can say. I guess a bit more than just not pleased. So they addressed it by saying that the reason you can't play as a female is because you're only playing as Arno, which is the main protagonist, and you'll always be playing as him. And unfortunately, that just means you just can't play as anybody else but him. And then, this kind of grew and said, and then people started pointing out, oh, look, in Far Cry 4, you can only play as male as well. And the game director responded with saying, they were inches away from adding females into their co-op as well. So the problem is I guess the big issue is Ubisoft being considered sexist?
Well, I think one thing to think is that their excuse for this is complete. One of the big excuses they said was, the whole it's going to take quite some time to animate all these things, right? They're like, oh yeah, so this will add months and months and months of animation time. All right. Which is absolute bullshit. Before
I let you continue there, I'm just gonna grab that quote for you. A tweet from Jonathan Cooper, who is the an animator for Naughty Dog, who says that it would basically take about a day or two's work to basically recreate the sufficient amount of animations required for a female. Basically, not exactly what they were implying, saying that it would take a lot and it would be less prioritized. Jonathan Cooper also pointed out that that Aveline from Assassin's Creed Liberation shares more animations in common with Connor Kenway from Assassin's Creed 3 than Edward Kenway from Assassin's Creed 4. Basically suggesting that, they're more or less just reusing animations. So, the 2 and 2 don't really add up. So, I don't...
And also, if you think about, they have all of those characters you can play with online, right? So, it's just bullshit with, I can go on Assassin's Creed Brotherhood and play... I think Brotherhood had different characters. Yeah, they all had different characters you can play.
Brotherhood Revelations, all of them after Brotherhood.
I've never played online, so I wouldn't know.
Well, I'm not 100% sure which one had female characters, but I swear to you, at least a couple of them had some female characters, be it like a dancer that you could play as, or even just not that. Like, they had a ton of different male models that probably had slightly different animations. I can't guarantee that, though.
No, they did.
So I guess
some were heavier, yeah.
I guess is the issue then that all of a sudden they're not allowed to play as female characters in multiplayer? Is that where the issue of the focus is?
I guess. I mean,
Go ahead.
Sorry, go.
I was going to say it's artificially limiting because their other excuse that ties in with it was it's a new platform, therefore they haven't had sufficient man-hours to develop for it. But it's not like they're physically limited in resource costs or anything because these new systems are far more powerful and they've done it before many times, as you mentioned.
Right, but I mean, I guess I think it's safe to say that they are dealing with a new, basically a new framework that they're not familiar with, and I mean to kind of prove that, Assassin's Creed Unity, if I remember correctly, was on a 3-year cycle actually, so they definitely had sufficient amount of time to program for it. And without a doubt, though, I mean, the generation did come rushed. A lot of games just came, not really exactly up to snuff of what people were expecting. I mean, it seems plausible that they could be telling the truth, but at the same time, it's not enough to justify. I mean, like even though it's like simple work, there is a lot of trial and error. And I think the one thing that Naughty Dog versus Ubisoft is that Naughty Dog really only focuses on one platform, whereas Ubisoft is still stabbing mostly everywhere. But I mean, like it's still they still have to pick up the PS4 architecture. They also have to learn the Xbox One architecture. So I mean, like PC is the only one they're really familiar with, and like it's already a blessing that they're releasing exclusively on next gen. If they had to include 360 and PS3, we would get the same mess that we did in I'd say Watch Dogs.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, another point to say is that like it's Ubisoft, right? Like they're arguably one of the biggest companies out there that deals with video games, right? So I mean, there's no reason. I guess they did come up with a reason, but like there's no reason as to why they can't just put more effort into it. Like this is one of the things that I was really hoping that next gen would do for video games is that this kind of stuff wouldn't become an issue, right? Like I'm not expecting like 5 times bigger areas or whatever. It's just kind of like I was expecting just more stuff in the areas that we've come to realize, right? Like just I don't know.
That's exactly what I mean by artificially limiting, because it doesn't need to necessarily be this way, and we've come to expect more with all the promises that everyone's made with the next gen systems, and it doesn't feel like they're delivering on that.
Yeah, and I mean, just to add on to more stuff, I mean, the one thing I have the biggest beef with is really crappy grass in most games. It's just
your biggest beef is the grass.
It is okay. Two of the biggest beefs that people may not consider to be big, but bothers me so much. First person shooters. When I look down, I don't see my legs. I just float there. That bothers me so much. And second,
Crisis, right?
And the second thing is grass, because it's just flat. It's not like it's just flat. Like it's like I'm stepping on mesh. It doesn't have like the strand. It's just I'm crawling on mesh. It's like ugh. So I was hoping
to be able to frolic through the grass.
Yes, frolic through the grass, and I think I saw a bit of that in Watch Dogs. I don't quote. I don't quite remember, but I do remember seeing some very long uncut grass, which made me a bit pleased.
Different strokes for different folks, I guess.
Yeah, that. All right, so rather than complaining about what we didn't see in next gen, let's focus back on the issue of whether there is any kind of social injustice here. Do you think, is Ubisoft basically denying people the lack of playable female characters?
Couple things, considering these are very heavily story-driven games. So at least for the single-player perspective, perhaps it's not mandatory to have both a male and a female perspective, just because they are doing story first. Co-op kind of throws that all out the window in regards to multiplayer, and it's usually just PvP brawls and co-ops and things like that. In which case, multiplayer, females, by all means. But the part people complaining about single player needs a mandatory female lead, particularly in Assassin's Creed, I don't necessarily agree with that being mandatory. You get what I mean?
Yeah, but I think the target is more so on the fact that when they're playing in co-op that they don't have the choice of playing female. Like, is there any injustice in that?
Well, I mean, if just to pile on to the whole story-based thing, I mean, there was a female lead in Assassin's Creed. Granted, I mean, the ratio of male leads to female leads is ridiculously one-sided. But, I mean, you got to play as Aveline. There was that extra DLC in Assassin's Creed 4 that you got to play as. I mean, there is something to say where a good... now I'm just going to sound like an asshole. But I'm assuming that a good chunk of developers are probably majority male, right? And so you develop for what you know, right? Especially for writing and for all that kind of stuff, right? I mean, So I actually have a question for you guys because me and Alex kind of have the luxury of being portrayed in pretty much every video game ever.
Fair enough.
Uh, well, I mean,
Wait, males.
that's not
Yeah.
that's not false.
Yeah, so I mean, do you guys feel this way about race, right? Do you feel underrepresented?
Not really. Never really bothered me.
The thing is, the thing is about video games is that you don't want to basically play what you already are, if that makes any sense. It's more so the fact that you want to escape your life and kind of encapsulate somebody else's life, whether whether them being Asian, whether them being whatever it may be. Granted, I did have so much fun playing Sleeping Dogs, and I guarantee you, if you're Chinese, you will have as much fun as I will, but nobody else will have as much fun as I will do because
That
they
was such a great game.
just have so much like there's so much like you can actually feel the culture of actually feeling like you're in Hong Kong, and it actually feels like you're they yell at you in Cantonese, and they yell at you in actually like swearing Cantonese, and it's just wow, okay, cool, this is actually really immersive. Like I felt more like at home, but even though I wasn't even born in Hong Kong, but you get what I mean. Anyway,
So
I-
I guess is it a valid argument to argue that females playing a game, it takes them out of the experience when they get called, a male or whatever, right? Because I mean, does it take you out of the experience when somebody, I don't know how to word this, but I guess that is a valid point, right? Where potentially females are being taken out of the experience when they're not being referred to what they feel like they should be referred
actually,
to that, right?
what I did was before this podcast, about 12 hours before, I did some preparation, and I actually went to do some field trips. Well, more like I messaged a bunch of females to actually like send them articles regarding this lack of playable female characters in the occasion that some discussion like this would happen, so that we could get a more female perspective. And it actually, for the most part, is that it seems like it's not as big of an issue as people seem to make it sound like. So I have one of my friends, her name is Sherry. So she points out that Ubisoft's excuse is faulty, and it's very embarrassing for them, and that the AC games make more sense to me if they stay with a male protagonist for all the memories and stuff. And also she points out that Far Cry has no reason as to why they can't have a female character, and they should make a game in the future. And all animations are in place in the previous models. Okay, I may have skipped some notes here and there. But point being, she doesn't really make a claim that like it doesn't seem to be like a major issue. I have another friend. I'm just gonna read this out. I got into Assassin's Creed series back when AC2 was released. Even though there weren't any playable female characters besides the multiplayer, there are strong female characters like Claudia, Auditore, and Katia. I don't remember Katiana. Do you guys remember her?
She was in Brotherhood or something. It was like the second.
Oh, her. Okay.
love interest. I think. Maybe.
Anyways, it is really unfortunate that problems like this had to occur for Ubisoft in regards to the playable female for co-op in Assassin's Creed. I personally would like to see one. We've had one female on Assassin's Creed PS Vita, and I know a lot of people, male and female, were looking forward to an Assassin's Creed in Asia because of AC Embers. Yada yada yada. So it just seems like it's not necessarily. I think if I had to put it, I think Aisha Tyler probably put it the best. That it's definitely not necessarily a problem that's being ignored. In fact, like everyone admits to the fact that it is a big problem, but it's nevertheless something that's growing and something that's definitely there. And I think just to kind of test that theory, I kind of developed a challenge for you guys to kind of see, just to kind of see like this, to get a scope of like how bad the problem is within their game industry. And
is this gonna be like name how many games have a female?
okay, no, here that's okay. So there are certain rules that I have. First of all,
All right.
Tomb
Raider.
Hey,
Yeah,
hey,
Tomb
hey,
Raider.
hey, 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 hey.
Less than size double D boobs.
Whoa,
That's
whoa,
the
whoa.
criteria.
Damn it.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
I'm sorry.
All right, so
Cut that out. Cut that out.
it's live stream.
The best way to do it.
Sorry,
All of-
internet.
All of
Yes.
Evan's opinions are strictly Evan's. So basically, I want you guys, because I've thought about this challenge, I'm obviously disqualified from it.
Convenient.
Convenient, isn't it? Because it's rigged. I thought about it for a while. So basically,
I
I
want to
want
host a podcast. I don't have to do stupid shit. No, I'm kidding.
I want you guys to basically name as many franchises as you can that feature a single player experience with a female protagonist, and exceptions, you cannot name games that let you change the gender of the main character, i.e. Skyrim, Mass Effect, etc. And I will give you guys 30 seconds
Oh, this
for
is
you
impossible.
three to work as a team to name as many as you can.
First one, Beyond Good and Evil.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, one.
Remember Me.
Two.
Tomb Raider, as was stated before.
Yeah.
The Last of Us. You
Four.
technically do.
Technic.
Um,
Okay.
What about Child of Light?
I'll let that
Yeah.
slide. I'll let that slide. Yeah.
What do you mean you'll let that
Go, go, go,
slide?
keep going.
Mirror's Edge.
All
Mirror's
right.
Edge.
All
Oh
right.
yeah,
Hydrophobia. It was mentioned.
Okay.
I mentioned.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 so far.
All right.
Six.
Stop. All right. I actually counted 7.
This is
Someone said something. Oh, someone said Child of Light. That's why.
Oh, right.
All
right.
right.
So 7.
7 within 30 seconds. I
that's
still
pretty-
think
that's pretty good.
I've actually kind of impressed you guys. Got 7. Wow. Child of
Point
Light.
disproven.
Okay. 2 other things I would like to point out the moment you said Child of Light. Number 1, Child of Light, main female protagonist that apparently seemed to have slipped the minds of the people of this controversy.
Yeah.
That was like my main thing with the whole controversy. It's like it's not like Ubisoft is ignoring female leads. They released a game just before they released Assassin's Creed Unity with a female protagonist, and does it has a female antagonist too? Does it not?
And it's developed for next gen as well.
Yeah, like
Ooh.
I mean.
Okay, people are gonna forget this because I know this. I know this just because I pay a lot of attention to this. The Division. There is a female playable character in every
I did not
single
know that.
game clip possible.
Well,
she literally
so-
starts it.
It's true.
So I want to one thing that I want to mention as well. You mentioned Aisha Tyler, and one tweet that she said recently was she was playing Oculus Rift or whatever. I think at E3, and I think that this is going to be a bigger issue if stuff like Oculus Rift takes off, because she was mentioning that she was playing a game, and when she was playing her game and she would look down at her hands in the Oculus Rift, she'd be a white male, right? And in that specific case, it's like, oh, like that really takes you out of it. That's really not good, because
Ooh.
in terms of VR, like you literally are the person you're playing.
That's a pretty big
right?
problem.
And especially since she's a black female, like that's just a big. It's like, you got it really wrong.
As far as possible, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
like if she could be like a fish or something, and it's like, oh yeah,
like okay,
white male.
or maybe like they just wear enough clothes so that just kind of so all you see is just hands and clothes, or like just like when you're luging or whatever it is, you're gonna be covered in like a lot of clothing anyway. So I mean,
Right. But
So,
So-
I mean, like, I mean, this is something where I think something like this is going to be an issue in the future, but right now there's still a huge disconnect between the player and what they're playing. In the most case, I mean, yes, you can get lost in the game and you can, forget about what's going on around you, but there still is that difference of, it's kind of like you're watching a movie, right? Where you can easily get lost in movies, but you never think like, oh yeah, I'm totally the protagonist. I'm the guy running around shooting everybody, right? Like you don't. There's still that big disconnect in video games.
Yeah.
That
You know, and actually, I think the best way to kind of describe what you're trying to say, Aimal, it's over.
I'm sorry.
And I think the best way, to kind of describe it is we are basically Desmond in the Animus. We're not becoming that person. We're kind of just living through, I guess, the design characters' memories. And just kind of going through it.
Well, at the same time, keep in mind it's being told through Desmond's perspective. Like you're playing as Desmond specifically.
So
There's never
so
any
Assassin's
doubt.
Creed has an even bigger disconnect.
you're a person playing a game, playing a memory simulator.
Of another person.
Yeah. And then even in Assassin's Creed 4, you're a person playing a game who's a game dev playing somebody else's memories to build a game that you're playing. Oh God.
All right, so I think it's safe to say that it's definitely an issue, but I think at this point it was probably overblown, and I don't think the burden bears entirely on Ubisoft on this one.
No, it's on the entire gaming industry.
Yeah.
Like Ubisoft's not the only company that does this, right? Like,
And I mean, I think it's definitely. I mean, movies and books get this a lot as well, right? But I think it's definitely something that, you really have to ask yourself, well, what needs to come first, story or giving the player what they want? Because you get games like Mass Effect agency. Sorry, you get games like Mass Effect where people wanted to feel agency over the world and stuff like that. But then when you get to the end, it's just not doable right now, right? Like these endings they don't necessarily chalk up to what we want. You can't necessarily have an actual epic storyline that is built around something that somebody designed and have you be able to take a perfect, be part of that. You get games like Minecraft or stuff like that where you make your own story, right? But games that have their story that they've written and they want you to play through, like there has to be some sort of limitation on on what you can edit from their story, right?
Agreed completely. All right, so I think we all universally agree on this, and I think most of our, I guess, quote unquote female fan base, more like my. Oh, anyways, yeah, I think we can move on from here. I think it's safe to say that something that is evolving and changing. All right, so moving on to the next topic. Oh man, Watch Dogs, everyone's favorite topic right now. So basically, the E3 2012 Watch Dogs graphical settings can now be available to anybody with very slight modifications in the config files, and actually just happening within, I guess, 8:45 p.m., 9 p.m. ish. We got an official of Thursday, obviously. We have an official statement from Ubisoft claiming that the reason that they're unused or deactivated is because they're not better. They apparently make things a bit blurrier, and the things that we've done have enhanced gameplay for the player. Basically, kind of short-terming what they're saying. You can definitely look up the article on Kotaku saying what Ubisoft's response is. It was very recent, and I'm sure that is a developing article that we'll add on later on as the story develops. So, the PC version did not turn out to be everything we hoped for, and all the conspiracy theorists were right. Turns out they did dumb down and just left things under the wraps. What do you guys think?
It's even as bad to say that in the config file, the options that they disabled were actually named like E3. Like they were named, this is the E3 setting, right? Like that. Yeah, that's bad.
And not only that, I believe the mod file is literally 45 kilobytes. It is not. It is literally not doing anything. It is literally just turning things on and off. That is it. So, what do you guys think about this entire scenario? How do you think Ubisoft handled this entire scenario? Theories?
I think this was their attempt to immerse the player more in the game. It's a game about hacking. it doesn't get any more real than this.
I was like, if you
I'll
look
give you
at
that,
this,
Alex.
if you look at the Steam reviews for Watch Dogs, I remember when the game came out, there was a lot of issues with people not being able to connect to the Ubisoft network and stuff. So one of the reviews was like, "Man, this game is so this game is so hard. I can't even get to the main screen. I mean, you have to hack into like Ubisoft's like online thing to even get to playing. Like, fuck, this game so hard."
Yeah, it's definitely a big mess. Emma, what's your thought on this?
I was thinking of like if you combine it with the other current debacle with the whole female leads thing, which is also Ubisoft centric, it just goes into a whole mass of what the fuck is going on through their minds, kind of thing. Like I don't know if it's a publicity stunt or not, but I'm not discounting the possibility. I don't know. Are you guys discounting that as a possibility? Because
Well, I mean, lots of people are saying that it's possible that that they had some kind of deal with like lots of people are saying Sony that in an attempt to sell more consoles, like people would have seen a drastic difference between the PC version and a PS4 version.
oh,
And
Like,
and yeah.
I mean, it's not confirmed by any means, and it's never gonna be confirmed. But
And I think to add on to that theory is that like when Ubisoft was presenting Watch Dogs, they presented Watch Dogs at their own conference, saying like, "Oh man, this is gonna be a great game" and stuff. All of a sudden, the next year, they're all buddy with Sony, and they're just like, "Here's my Assassin's Creed game. Here's my Watch Dogs game. Like, check it out. It's gonna be exclusive content for PS4." So it's kind of like,
Ubisoft and Sony have always been like that, though. Like, since Assassin's Creed 2, the PS3 always got exclusive content over every other console,
true enough.
right? That's nothing new. I mean, it might be a little bit. I don't even know if it's more visual now, like it's more obvious, but it's so Ubisoft's always been a big Sony fan.
but I
just
mean,
feels
like
like-
it's. Oh,
Sorry,
sorry,
go ahead.
Emma, go ahead. Go for it.
It just feels like they're shooting themselves in the foot, though, because they're intentionally gimping PC sales to favor a platform that people will have to buy in order to enjoy fully. Like, by dumbing down, I guess, PC graphics to make it more comparable to the PS4, if I understand correctly. I feel like they're not doing themselves a favor in that regard because they're just losing sales, are they not?
Yes, but here's the bigger issue at hand is that if they are allegedly gimping the PC version to be dumbed down to be more on the PS4 level, why are the settings still there? That's the
I
better
think-
question.
That's just bad, versioning on the Ubisoft programmer's fault, right? Like, I mean, so I develop software at my company, and I don't know how many times like I've made a release and sent it to customers like, shit, that really shouldn't be there. I hope nobody goes into program files and looks at that. Like, oh my god, I just released a ton of stuff that nobody's supposed to know about. Right? Like it happens. It does. But I mean on something as big as Ubisoft, I mean I would assume that people would be going through every single line of code like months before release date,
for
right?
sure.
Like,
And
just
like
doesn't
Watch Dogs got delayed as well, right? So it's almost
yeah.
inexcusable for them to be releasing, this kind of snippet and stuff. Which is why I have an interesting conspiracy theory that may or may not be true. So I personally think
aliens.
Obviously aliens.
sorry.
No, I personally think that there was a disconnect between upper management Ubisoft and the developers. Mostly because
Yeah.
like let's say for instance upper management is mostly saying we need to step down the PC game because we need to push PS4 sales. Let's say hypothetically speaking this happened.
Right.
As a developer, you probably feel pretty insulted that you have to dumb down your baby. Watch Dogs was like a new IP. It was a pretty big deal, and they wanted to launch it for as far as the eyes can see. And Ubisoft makes it clear that when they make a game, they make a franchise. They don't make just a single game. So it's interesting that they leave behind, like Evan said, even like strictly, unedited config files right there. And
Right.
the whole conspiracy between Watch Dogs not having up to par 2002 graphics was already there even before the game's release. I remember having a bit of a Twitter argument with someone else because I personally thought it looked great up until someone showed me the comparison video and I was just like, whoa, okay, now I see the difference here. So I personally think that the developers left it there on purpose for PC users, knowing that they would want to, get the 2002 version, the 2012 version, the one that they deserved. Kind of like a whistleblower kind of thing, just so that the PC versions, don't lose out on it. That's my theory. I could be right, I could be wrong. I'm maybe doing justice to the person who's doing this, and if that's the case, you're welcome. But I honestly that was the first thing that came to my mind, was because as a developer, I wouldn't be pleased to be butchering down. And upper management doesn't know the code as well as you do, obviously, and all they see is, okay, good, PS4 version, PC version, it's dumbed down, great. But you could leave them when you leave deactivated config files with certain settings, you have the intention of eventually turning it on one day, especially when you label it in such a specific manner that's dictated within a specific time frame. I like you said before, I don't think it's lack of diligence. As a big publisher, I'm sure they've done a lot of checks to make sure that what they're sending out is finalized. Sure, glitches show up, but I mean that's different from not sending a production version of a game versus a developer version of the game. So I think it's safe to say that and especially the fact the 6-month delay between the original launch and what it launched now, it doesn't seem justified to say that it wasn't due diligence or the lack of diligence, sorry, that was the problem. I think it was intentional that the dev team may have left it in there for us, but publicly speaking, they can't really say anything in fear of losing their jobs. And obviously they're just hiding in that smoke screen where it's oh, no, you don't know who did it, obviously, so you can't really fire the entire Watch Dogs team. I mean,
basically, it's too big of a
exactly
thing to be just a coincidence. I was like, oops, we forgot.
I honestly have a belief that because when you talk to any developer, you can hear the passion in their voice. When you're a video game developer, you could easily be making cash, because video game developers are really intelligent. They have to do a lot of math and linear algebra, and there's a lot of calculations that go into this, and they have passion in what they're trying to do. And I don't think it's the case that they are willing to gimp something that's far much better than what's being presented.
Far much better.
That was, never heard it described.
You already said that
better.
once before.
I know. Yeah.
New catchphrase.
New catchphrase.
For me, I completely buy into the whole Ubisoft just kind of being a little bit lazy in this regard. To me, what this seems like is they wanted the PC version on Ultra and the PS4 and the Xbox One version on Ultra to look the same, right? And especially when we talked previously about the whole female issue, right? How they just don't want to put the time into. They think it's going to take quite some time to do this. One thing that they mentioned in their press release that they released not too long ago about this is it subjectively enhances the game's visual fidelity in certain situations, but can also have various negative impacts. These could range from performance issues to difficulty in reading the environment in order to appreciate the gameplay, or potentially making the game less enjoyable or even unstable. So if these things are true, that just kind of makes me think that they didn't want to fix these things, and what they focused on was making it work on PS4 and making it work on Xbox One, and then just shipping it in that state, right? Because since the consoles and PC are so uniform in terms of architecture now, that's definitely doable, right? They can max out on PS4, max out on Xbox One, and then ship, and it will run fine, right? All these settings just need to be turned essentially to 11 for PC, and then we'll be able to play it fine, right? That's how I read this personally, is that's what they wanted to do, and they didn't want to fix the bugs with all the extra little tweaks to make it turn to 11.
Right.
And I think the one other thing I want to add to your point is that Ubisoft isn't a single studio really. They work with like 10 other studios. I mean, Assassin's Creed Unity, that's exactly what they had. They had 10 other studios working on specific things. Who knows how many studios worked on with Watch Dogs, but it might be the case that in your case that you might be right that it could just be, there could be, miscommunication. There could have been just things that they left behind. It could be the case that the settings were just left there just because there was a lot of miscommunication between all the studios. We might be just seeing the byproduct of sometimes it's good to split up your work, but I think this is the first time. I think Ubisoft is more or less moving into opening more studios internationally so that they can divide the work up and so that they can pump out games faster that way. But I guess this may be a side effect of it right now.
Being a guy who has worked on a development team with somebody in England, I think it's not easy, right? Like, because realistically, if you want to work a standard 8-hour day, you are only going to be able to converse with this person for probably about 4 hours, right? Yeah, if that at all. Because I mean, like, you get in, you have a coffee, and then you end up sitting at your desk. Like, yeah, it just doesn't happen, right? So you either have to work ridiculous hours, or your development is going to take longer, or you're just going to be developing without being in communication with these people. None of which are all that pleasant, right?
Or ideal, yeah.
Right.
But
It's not fun.
So, but we all think that it was gimped for the PS4.
Wasn't it just gimped throughout?
I don't know if I think that's also a good question. Do you guys think that the PS4 and Xbox One could run Watch Dogs in the state it was in before? I personally think it could, based on what we saw this E3, especially with like Order 1866 and some other stuff like that. I don't think it's out of the question. I think it would have been difficult, especially with how early the PS4 is in its cycle, right?
Yep.
But
and optimization isn't exactly on the back of everyone's mind. Like, they just know it right away.
Exactly.
For such a new platform.
So
but I think it's doable.
So are you necessarily validating their reason then?
I wouldn't say I am. I mean, I guess one thing that might be a better thing, as in the PS4 didn't gimp this. I think their need to develop a PS3 and an Xbox 360 version did more so, right? Because that means they have to split resources. That means that I think that's potentially a bigger problem, right?
So what you're saying is instead, so you don't think it's the PS4, you think it just makes the Xbox 360 and PS3 users feel better.
That's also that, but also, I mean, you have to, when you're in development, I mean, like, now because especially since it's two drastically different architectures, I'm assuming that they're going to have, one team develop it for PS4 and then one team work off the PS4 code and move it to that, right? So if you have all of this code that's at this ridiculously high setting and you need to shift it over to PS3, then that just creates that much more work. So why don't they just limit it to, because all these settings that were added for the E3 version, I'm guessing here, but are probably like the animations on the cloaks and stuff, right? If you just get rid of that and make the cloak texture really nice, that can easily be downgraded to a PS3. But like cloak animations and cloak physics and stuff cannot easily be translated down into PS3. Right?
So in actuality, what you're saying is that the PS4 and the Xbox One version of Watch Dogs is actually not optimized then, or at least not it's not basically
Not
the full
reaching its
potential.
potential.
Yeah.
Oh, I definitely think that. I mean, based on even I played the Destiny alpha last weekend. That game looks phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
Like that game looks gorgeous, right? And I have a 1440p screen on my PC, right? Like I know what gorgeous games look like, and so I mean, like that game looks gorgeous, and Watch Dogs, like, it looks fine. I don't think it looks horrible, but it doesn't look anything like what I expect a next gen game to look like.
Interesting. I'd buy into that. I think that sounds like it would be that could be plausible. What do you guys think?
the way that Watch Dogs looked for me, like when I was watching you play, it looked as if I imagined it to look if I bought it on 360.
Yeah,
Like,
kind of.
it's just like it's really nothing special. And like yeah, like I watched a lot of like Destiny gameplay, and I agree, like it looks incredible, and I don't understand. Like, I mean, Ubisoft isn't even close to that in Watch Dogs. Like it's.
Which
I don't
actually, it's actually interesting because Bungie is actually developing for both PS3 and Xbox 360 for Destiny.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how it looks on there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that also just goes to say, I mean, so I don't know if you guys have figured it out over the past 3 weeks of us doing this podcast, but I'm not a big Ubisoft fan.
Really?
Not the biggest one.
I think I'm pretty sure I've known this since like 2 years ago.
Yeah, and I just, to me, this just kind of exemplifies a reason why I don't really care for them all that much. To me, it seems like they're a company that just wants to shovel out games as fast as possible, as quickly as possible. Kind of not as bad as Activision, but similarly, right?
They're reaching the level of Activision.
They
Yeah.
really are. And you get a company like Bungie who I feel like is legitimately trying to give you the best experience that they can give you on the console you buy it for, right?
And I mean,
Wow.
the fact that they left Microsoft to kind of do their own independent project really proves that, in my opinion, that they really want
Exactly.
to do their own project.
I mean, granted, Bungie, I'm assuming, has quite a bit of money to do so, right? So they're kind of in a nice position in that regard where they can sit on a new IP for how many years and still be able to pay everybody. But I mean, Ubisoft's fine. Like, they don't need to release games at the rate they do, and it hurts the overall product, right? Like, I mean, realistically, even if we look at Assassin's Creed, I mean, Assassin's Creed 2 was a huge jump, right? And then really the next time that I was really impressed with Assassin's Creed was 4. Right, like every other one just felt like a very, very small increment, right? Like they were all good, but it was definitely a downhill curve for me, and then it spiked at 4 again, right? Personally.
I agree with you for the most part. I actually felt like 3 was a bit of a downgrade in some cases.
Oh, 3 was.
3 was
There's
so
a
bad.
really big
it was
dip
like
here.
it was like whoosh.
Yeah.
Wait,
3
is that
was-
last one supposed to be 4 or 3?
The last one was that's 3 and then 4.
Okay, I haven't played 4, so I would know. Okay, that's good to know, though.
4 is awesome. It is
Okay.
arguably the best Assassin's Creed out there. It is phenomenal.
Okay.
And I think it's a lot of that has to do with they just, figured out what made Assassin's Creed awesome, and then they developed those things
Fair
instead of being like, oh, let's add this and this and this. This is like, no. People like these games. Just do that.
It's pretty much it's still their biggest cash cow, isn't it? Ubisoft?
Assassin's Creed?
Yeah.
Yes.
They have a lot of IPs.
That's why, like, it's the one that, when you think Ubisoft, you think Assassin's Creed is what I mean.
Yeah,
I think Tom Clancy. Mostly, but that's kind of died down now. I mean,
That's kind of what I'm getting at.
yeah.
Assassin's Creed is definitely their yearly release.
For sure, for
right.
sure.
And honestly, what's happened to Assassin's Creed makes me fear for Far Cry, right?
I'm
Because
so
it's like,
scared.
because Far
And-
Cry is awesome, and I'm sure Far Cry 4 is still gonna be good. But I watched it and I'm like, this looks exactly like Far Cry 3.
Kinda.
just
Segue
with
into the
with
next
elephants.
segment. Far Cry 4, best. It can be the best it can be on next gen consoles. PC gamers all cringe after discovering Watch Dogs.
Let's just stick to, like, Blizzard. It's purely developed for PC.
All right, so the question I want to ask you guys is, after all this controversy regarding Far Cry 4 being, best it can be on next gen, PC will look as good as next gen. And apparently
yeah.
people don't like what next gen looks like because PC surpasses what next gen is capable of. So do you think Ubisoft is alienating PC gamers?
I think they're taking steps towards it. I mean, first, they started with Uplay. I mean,
Shoot
Yep.
me.
who the hell likes Uplay?
Well,
They've
they
been
got rid
doing-
of it now.
They've
And,
been doing this forever, though. I mean, like all of the games, like Assassin's Creed, I forget which one.
2.
I think all of them. required constant internet access to play on PC.
It's
Oh.
terrible.
Like,
I did not
it's
know
not
that.
like they haven't been doing this for a long time, right? They've always been that company.
Yeah, but I think I think Evan was right before. Like I think like it seems to me like Ubisoft is, they kind of have the stance that you always like lots of games have additional features for PC, and it seems like they don't like have the time or like the desire to debug those features that would like be exclusive to PC and wouldn't benefit the consoles. So they're just pushing the same version to every platform. Like I don't know if it's like to keep up with their like stupid yearly releases. Like I don't care if they release a game in 2 years, like one game every 2 years for like the Assassin's Creed franchise or something like that.
Yeah, but upper management does though, no?
But
Well,
I mean, yeah,
I don't know why they do. Like I just want a higher quality product.
Fair.
yeah.
It's one of those problems of, businessmen who don't necessarily understand the industry are running the industry.
Yep.
Right? And
Yep.
you get this everywhere, like everywhere. Not just in video games, you get it in every single. And video games are generally very closely compared to movies, right? Because that's kind of the closest media that exists out there to people who don't necessarily understand the deeper ideas of it. And
Yep.
to a businessman who looks at movies goes, oh, well, a movie, you come up with an idea, you write it, you get the casting, and then it comes out in a year. Video games, it's like, okay, so you come up with an idea, you get a team, and 4 years later you have a product, right? Like it's just a drastically different style, and people just aren't used to it, I guess, which is weird because they've been out for a long ass time now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I definitely agree with you with regards to Uplay, but I mean, it's just them trying to save on licensing fees, really. I mean, like basically every major publisher has their own form of DRM at this point. EA has Origin. I don't know about Activision, but they don't really strive on the PC. They're really piggybacking on Steam right now.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh, Blizzard's with Activision, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
and they have BattleNet.
Yeah.
And BattleNet is actually phenomenal, by the way.
I was gonna say that.
Man.
Battle.net does everything right.
That thing is awesome. It does some like it did. I was really impressed with it, but yeah, my
I'm-
2 cents.
I'm just really looking for. I just hate this DRM fragmentation. I just wish everything was just under one DRM.
Yeah, but then that defeats the purpose of having a PC in the first place. It's about an open environment, right?
Yeah.
Then that's the same thing as getting a Windows 8 computer, going to the Windows 8 App Store and downloading like Rocket Jump. For
Well,
example.
I mean, even Good Old Games is coming out with their own Steam. Yeah, they announced it. Here, I'll send you a link. But it's really awesome because it's actually integrating with Steam, so you can
Oh, I
play. You can actually launch your Good Old Games based games from
Yeah.
Steam without a. It's literally the best implementation because they understand.
That's what they meant. Okay, I was looking
Yeah.
at the Steam sale and they mentioned if you buy something on the Steam sale, you can also get it through GOG.
Yeah.
Like you can link it to your account. No, oh, okay, that makes a lot more
Yeah.
sense.
And it's probably the best way to do it because I mean Steam by far has a monopoly on this, right? Like by far. And
Yeah.
Good Old Games is, besides Origin, it's really the only other place that I go to buy games, right? Like if I see a game on Good Old Games, I'll buy it because it's cheap. I get the installer, and that's fine. So I think I'm not gonna lie. I think if this happens and it's a good implementation and it's what the players want, I think that this Good Old Games service could be the best place to buy a game because you buy your game, you get the install file, you can play it through Steam. There's no issues doing so. I can't think of anything better.
And if it starts interfacing with Origin and Uplay, then it really centralizes everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something that I'm looking for. Speaking of DRMs, something really exciting happened today.
Uh-oh.
Steam sale. Yay!
It's like Christmas, but not for my wallet.
Oh God.
It's like Christmas, except we already own all the presents.
It's
Yeah.
I'm having a big problem. I just own everything I want now.
Oh, Oh, white male problems. Oh, I know. I've been running into that issue too. And I've also been noticing stuff like Mirror's Edge is on sale right now, and well, it was on sale today,
Yeah.
and it's actually on sale for less than it normally is.
75 is as low as it ever got.
I remember it being for like $3.99. I remember it being like $1 less. But either way,
No,
right?
I
Like,
believe you.
yeah. Either way, like I've noticed. I mean, there are only so many games on Steam, but you get a lot of repeats now.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's the case only for us though, who've been on Steam for 4, 5, 6 years. For someone who's just coming in now, this is literally better than Christmas.
Yeah, absolutely.
it's true.
Although-
Last
Yeah.
summer sale was my first one, and it was better than Christmas.
Yeah.
Although I really do miss their indie game bundles, where it was like you buy this for $5 and get like 5 really small games. They used to have that. That was a while ago, like a long time ago. But I
They
really
still-
do miss it.
They still do that. It's just the prices are much more inflated now.
Yeah, and they're nowhere near as
Competitive.
marketed, right? Like it used to be
Yeah.
in like the top corner, like this is the indie game bundle for the day,
Right.
And now
Keep
it's
in
just
mind,
like, yeah,
That's also because Steam has lost that niche, because Humble Bundle exists, Indie Gala exists, Indie Royale exists, and they
Yep.
can sell them for pennies on the dollar, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
once Steam really jumped in popularity, I think it kind of jumped in popularity. I noticed in 2011, in my personal opinion, it's when it kind of like spiked and Steam sales became like a hype, and now all of a sudden you see different DRMs popping up with their own Steam sales. People taking stabs at Steam. Whereas I think Origin had a sale where the headline was like our sale or the games you'll actually buy and play.
Yeah, that was just last week, yeah.
Yeah, that was last week, and it's just like, this is getting interesting. Now it's like DRM wars.
Yeah,
Well,
like Amazon is price matching a lot of the Steam games.
Well, they've been doing that for the past couple of years, but
Yeah.
it's only picking up traction now because people are like, oh, Amazon has games? Sort
Yeah,
of thing.
basically.
Well, what do you guys think? So, getting back to the topic that Justin posted online, what do you think that this has an impact on with retail stores and actual like console games? Because I've definitely been noticing like friends who have consoles and buy PCs are now like, oh well, why would I buy this game on console when I can get it on a Steam sale for like less than a third of the price? And also, what do you think this has to do with actual revenue for games? I know during Steam sales, the games that go up on sale get a huge revenue increase. I know a bunch of developers have said it's almost as if it's a release date for you again, right? Because you just get that many more sales. But is it necessarily a good thing to be selling, games that are normally priced $30? Like I'm looking at XCOM right now, a $30 game going for $7.50, right? Like,
Well-
is that potentially harmful to the industry?
I would definitely say that it is as a person who is engrossed in trying to find sales and now partially feeling guilty about it. It is something that is, I personally believe, harmful, especially because we're like I recently brought up is the Steam sales is basically it's like a hype culture now. It's almost like Steam sales is literally as big as Christmas or Boxing Day sales, or it's become one of those things where if you went up to someone, even someone who has no knowledge of gaming, oh, Steam sales, oh yeah, my friends talk about that. It's like, whoa, what the, like it's
in popular culture.
yeah, it's in popular culture now. So we're kind of moving away from people staying up for day one releases now till just it's the people that kind of stay for day one releases now. It's kind of they're just diehard core fans who really wanted day one, and then the rest of the demographic just wait out for the first sale and it seems it's pretty harmful because it's like you're basically you're not getting as much as you used to, because back in the day our sales didn't happen as frequently or yearly as it used to. Like I remember like my first reaction when I saw like games that were just newly released, I would just be like, I'll wait for 6 months. I have a long list to fulfill right now, so I could probably play those until that thing goes on sale. And I think like it's your first Steam sale that screws you over. It's because like you overbuy on the games when you first see them, and then you kind of feel guilty when you see the next set, and you're just like, wow, this is like so many. So you kind of like hold off a bit. But at the same time, you can't hold off on the deals. You just keep buying and buying. And then when you get games that are like, $60, $70, it's just like, why is this so expensive? You kind of hold off and wait for like the next Steam sale. And especially coming from like people who I own a 360. This is quite a good evidence of this. I don't enjoy buying games for the 360 at all.
Yep, me either.
Yeah, it's
I don't own a previous gen or current gen console for that reason.
it's just
Well,
like
la-di-da. I'm sorry.
it's not pleasant that I have to buy a game where the graphics aren't as good as my PC can possibly punch out, and yet it's still more expensive. So
Yeah.
it as a person, I feel like I'm getting definitely a much better deal if I'm buying it on Steam. But on the flip side, buying it on sale literally means that developers are taking a hit, and I don't know if it's whether or not in connection to the fact that some companies had to declare bankruptcy. Some aren't just making as big of a deal or sale as they could. We're hearing layoffs everywhere, and definitely the one thing that really comes to mind is I believe it was mentioned a few podcasts ago where Square Enix just wasn't really cutting where they basically didn't make a profit on Sleeping Dogs and Tomb Raider and stuff, and those things were on sale so often.
Yeah, that was kind of ridiculous. With
Like
the sales.
the Tomb Raider and Sleeping Dogs was just like really on sale, and I don't know if there's any correlation between the two events, them being on sale a lot and them laying off people. But I honestly think that it's getting to the point that maybe that's why we're starting to see games that are now being released for $60 or $70 is because developers aren't making as much money as they used to on day one.
Another thing that you see a lot of as well is that I remember a year or two ago, it was pretty consistent that you could assume that any game released in like January or February would get a 50% drop on the Steam sale. But I mean, even looking at this right now, Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2 is only 25% off, right? There was another game.
Dead Rising 3. Dead Rising 3 is
well, that's
33%.
a pre-order.
But I mean,
That's
it's still,
pre-order.
yeah.
But like South Park Stick of Truth is only 33% off. Like I was expecting a solid 50% on that, right? So the Steam sales you even see where they kind of have to slow down, because the fact that something goes on sale is not bad, right? Like something goes on sale, sales increase, and most of the time they increase to the point of where you still make a profit. Right, because you're going to get those impulse buyers, right? Like the fact that XCOM is $7.50, you're going to get that much more people buying it because people are not willing to buy it at $30, and then you're going to get 5 people who would never buy it before to buy it, which equals out to one person buying it for $30. But the problem that you kind of alluded to a little bit, or very much so, is that people aren't willing to pay full price for games anymore, right? Because it just becomes that idea of, well, why would I buy this when I can get it for cheap because Steam, right?
And
which is not what companies want sales to do. Like that's just something that's not good.
And to
That
make
may very well be the reason why Steam's prices are not as low as they used to be, considering companies do have a say in how low they're going to price their games, right? So they might just think that they're losing too much.
I remember the day when the first Steam sale that I ever had, Half-Life 1 went on sale for 99 cents.
97.
Right?
Yeah.
97 cents? Yeah, and that was literally like the time where it's like, all right, everybody who has Steam owns Half-Life. Like, no question.
Pretty
Right?
much.
And I remember the last Steam sale, so I think it was the last Christmas sale, it went on sale for like $2-3. Right? So even Valve's own games aren't hitting the low prices that they used to.
Right. Or most of them, yeah.
Yeah,
I
most
think,
of them.
I think another issue with like the discontinuity, like I can't say the word.
Sound it out.
The discontinuity of prices between like PC and console is it's gonna sound kind of lame, but like the existence of like pirating and stuff. Like I know so many people who will just like if PC games were all priced at the same price as console games, like people would pirate like every single game on PC.
Agree completely.
But when games go on sale like this, like people are like, hey, like I'll spend $8 to officially have the game, And console players don't really have that option. Like there are, you can mod your console, but lots of people, it's a lot easier to pirate a game than it is to mod a console.
One might even
So-
argue that these sales have actually increased the piracy rate, because now it becomes an issue of game comes out on day one and it's like, oh yeah, Watch Dogs came out, it's $60. I'll just pirate it and buy it when it goes down to $10 on the Steam sale.
Right.
Right. So these people get this idea of,
They're like, oh yeah, I'm still supporting the company.
Exactly.
I'll just support them later.
Exactly. They'll support it when I'll support them when it's convenient to me.
Exactly.
But I'm gonna play your game now because I'm a cheap ass. No,
I know so many people that have that outlook. It's actually ridiculous.
it drives me insane because it's a really, really weird outlook, and most of the people that have that outlook don't see the problem in that, where you buy a product because you want the product. You don't just take a product when you want it and then buy it when you feel like it.
Yeah.
But I mean,
That's what borrowing money is from the bank, and they have interest on that shit. The entire infrastructure.
It's kind of what was the word you used, Alex?
Discontinuity.
Okay, I don't want to use that. It's disconnect between physical and digital media. They don't physically feel like they're taking something. It's on the internet. It's
exactly.
available, kind of thing. That might be why people are so difficult to like. Takes them a while to understand this, or they just don't understand it. Because you're right, I know plenty of people like that as well. I'll buy it later. I'll
Yep.
still support them, but for like $5 instead of $50.
Or lots of them will be like, yeah, I'm just gonna like play through the whole game, and if I like it enough, I'll support them.
yeah, right.
And like just to clarify, I'm not supporting these people. I'm just kind of pointing out their point of view. But then there's also
Devil's
things
advocate.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, though, there's also things like GameStop, used games. You have 7 days to return the game, no questions asked. Buy, play the story, return. People do that too.
You did, as working at EB Games for 3 years, that is not a policy. Stop telling people that that's a policy.
Right. But I'm saying people
So
do it.
Aimal
It's
basically,
not a policy.
Aimal only hears the half the story. They go to GameStop and he just assumes, oh, they must have gotten switched. Evan's on the other side saying, stop telling people this policy because it doesn't exist.
Oh no, I'm not saying it's a policy.
Oh, okay.
I just read about it, because I don't even own a current gen console, like I said, right? I've just seen people do it, and I'm like, I don't think they're supposed to do that.
Yeah, the policy at EB Games is in Canada, that they will take a full refund on unopened games, right? Or games that are broken, right? So if you bring back a game and it's busted up as fuck, then yes, we will.
So is
Assuming that it's our fault.
Secret? Is that the secret? Play through it, then bust it up as fuck?
I mean, it depends. It depends, right? Like obviously there's a line, and it also depends. Yeah, but that is the policy.
There's no return policy for used games then.
There is, but we put a sticker over it, and if the sticker's still there, we'll take full refund for it.
It's sort of like a void if removed sort of thing.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
But then also sometimes they do have promotions. Like I remember Dishonored. If you bought it new, every day that you waited to trade it back in, it only lost $1 in value.
Oh, I see. That's
right.
cool.
So trade in 3 days later, you get $64 back or whatever.
Right. No, I understand. This was just something I read on Reddit the other day. Actually, they were talking about GameStop in the U.S., so it's possible the policy's different there.
Yeah.
But I was just like, I don't think that's right.
Yeah.
But anyway,
That's
we're
just
detracting
different
from the point.
Yeah.
Alright.
Either way.
So back on the topic of Steam sales, what do you guys think overall? Do you think it's going to get worse with the sales, or do you think it's what do you guys think overall?
Worse as in like less discounts?
The discounts? Do you think it's something that's like fading now, or do you think the inflation is going to be like a solution? Like, what do you think overall of the sale hype?
I think it's becoming very much like Black Friday and Boxing Day, where Black Friday comes and you go to your favorite retailers and you go, oh, yep, this was the same sale that they had last year, but now on the next year product, right? Like it's becoming extremely predictable, right? And every single Steam sale, I walk in going, these are the 3 games I want. If they hit these prices, I will buy them. If they don't, right? They'll hit them at the Christmas sale, right? Like,
I agree with you. Pretty much like literally word for word. I was thinking of Black Friday as well. So,
Yeah, it's just what I've come to expect from them, right?
not that I mind it per se. I mean, it's great. The trading cards, all that stuff keeps the community alive. But I'm indifferent. I already own most of the stuff. I got a huge backlog. And
But now you get to be on a team.
I am
Oh,
absolutely
the rest-
fascinated that Valve is willing to use other people to guilt trip you into thinking that you are holding people back and you need to buy more things and to craft more cards.
They're not guilt tripping me because my team is in first place.
Ooh.
Go Team Purple.
Nah,
but
man,
it's-
Team Green is where it's at.
30 seconds.
Nah, it's really not.
You're just jealous.
I refreshed at the start of this thing, or sorry, like halfway through this thing, and Pink was like second, and now they're third,
Wait,
and before that
what?
they were fifth. I was like, I don't even know. So, yeah.
All right,
Okay,
so I
I'll
think
finish.
that wraps up for tonight.
Yep,
Yeah.
Tune in next week to find out what we talk about.
next week.
So suspenseful.
So suspenseful.
Ooh.
All right,
Bum,
have a good night, everybody.
bum.
Or good, or bye, whatever it is. I can't think of a good outro yet. I think we should spend our outros just talking about a possible outro.
Yeah, I'll just dance.
Oh. And then you just kind of fade to black while that's happening.
Fate.
Do it.